Welcome, everybody, to Take and Debate here on ESPN, where we hear the takes and we debate. Now, let's move into our first of three topics today. Is Ben Simmons a top 25 player in the NBA? What do you guys think?
Of course he isn't. Look how he did in the playoffs. He struggled. He was scared to shoot the basketball. He couldn't even produce on defense, that's what they're saying as a excuse to his offensive struggles, that he was a great defensive player, and he couldn't even handle that responsibility. If he can't handle either of those responsibilities, I don't think he belongs on the team, and he doesn't deserve a max contract.
What's your response, Zach?
It's definitely close, but I do think he takes that 25-24 spot. He is a 20-plus point regular season player. In the playoffs, he did underperform. Of course he did. I do think it's a little bit of Doc Rivers' fault. He's playing him at the small forward, power forward position. I think Ben Simmons is more of a playmaker of a point guard. Although he is tall, he could get rebounds. He could drive to the rim. I think he does fit in at that point guard position.
Definitely some very interesting points on a former Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Ben Simmons. Now let's move on to one of the Splash Brothers in Klay Thompson. Will he come back 100% from his Achilles tear and his ACL tear? What do you think, Zach?
I'm going to have to say no. Achilles tear and an ACL tear is very hard to come back from 100%. Although through the season he will get better and better, he hasn't played a full 12-minute quarter game in like 1.5 years it is. That's very hard to come back from, and his stamina from recovering is gonna have to get back up there. So I do think it's gonna take some time, but not right away.
Two definite serious injuries here for Klay Thompson. Now, Noah, what's your opinion on this big comeback coming for Klay Thompson?
Well, Zach, I think you definitely have a good point to make about the injuries, and it's definitely going to be a struggle for him to come back. However, I do think with the technology they have today and all the methods of recovery that doctors and players and teams have with them, I think the medical staff will allow him to come back better and even stronger. If you look at many players that have had ACL tears, like Kevin Durant and a plethora of like other players, they've been able to come back and play at a very high level. So I think that Klay Thompson will be able to come back, and he is a shooter, so he doesn't have to rely on his legs too much, like a lot of other athletic players who are maybe do a lot of slashing. So his role also will help him with that.
Definitely a big thing. Shooting for Klay Thompson is one of the Splash Brothers. He's been able to shoot over 40% from three-point range in the last couple years. Now, Zach, how do you think an injury going in his Achilles and his knee is going to affect the way he hits his jump shots?
Now, you made some great points about the technology we have and all of that, but I do think he does use his legs a lot, and he does use his ankles a lot. Now, shooting, he has to put pressure, he has to jump, he has to land, and he's also a great defender. People tend to forget that, but he's a great defender. He needs to slide his feet. He needs to use his legs a lot on defense and on offense.
Now, moving on to our next topic, we're going to be moving on to some Brooklyn Nets talk. A big second-round exit for Brooklyn this series. And let's see, what do you guys think? Will the Brooklyn Nets Big Three stay together in the next 3 years? Let's start with you, Noah.
I don't think that they'll be together in the next, you said 5 years or 3 years?
We're going 3 years.
3 years, okay. In a 3-year span, I think 3 years is a limit. I can't see them being together any longer than that. All three players have their very own unique play style, which I think meshes together when they're healthy. However, as they continue to age, I don't think that they'll be able to stay together. I think that they're on a mission just to get it done in the next couple of years, and then that's it for them. I can't see them staying together any longer than 3 years.
Zach, do you oppose Noah's take?
Yes, I do. I do think that they will stay together in the next 3 years. it was their first year playing together, and there were many injuries. James Harden was out. Kyrie was out. Now, when James Harden came back, he was not 100%. We could all see that. He did not play very well. It was mostly Kevin Durant. They barely played with each other in the regular season. Now, in following seasons, if they can continue to be healthy and play together, that will be a 1,000% 1-2 seed in the Eastern Division. If they get that finals contender accomplishment, and if they do end up winning the finals, I think that will make them want to stay together even more.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden all have egos. Now, Noah, how do you think that egos are going to affect the staying together of this team?
As you know, they all have big personalities, and with big personalities and big egos, like you said, that could affect the team and how they work together. Because if you end up getting upset at one another, it could potentially ruin the chemistry in the team, which is not good for the overall chances to make it farther in the playoffs.
Now that's going to be it for our Take and Debate here on ESPN. I'm your host, Mitchell Bernstein, alongside Noah and Zach. That's going to be it for today. Stay tuned next week for some more Take and Debate.